So in part two, first we'll take a financial lectures, then we'll take up Indian Express newspaper. So Engineering, they may see rupees 40,000 crores top up. 95% of the current financial year's allocation has been already utilized. So this were again starting May is regarding apprehensions sake, it might lead to financial shortfall in the coming time. So not to impact the fiscal deficit, or as we are seeing key savings on other heads to come in handy. So दिस इज अगेन वन एस्पेक्ट की जो अमाउंट अब एलोकेट किया गया है उसकी वजह से फिस्कल डेफिसिट के ऊपर इतना इम्पैक्ट नहीं होगा बिकॉज वी आर ऑल्सो सीइंग कि जो सेविंग्स में हमें इंक्रीज देखने को मिल रहा है बाकी एस्पेक्ट्स में दैट वुड बी अगेन इन अ वे compensating for this. So budget expenditure.
So I would like to ask one thing that there are some apprehensions cited by some of the regulatory authorities, especially the financial regulatory authorities, who say that the scheme Manrega, the objective of Manrega scheme is such that it actually puts behind the progress of the nation when it says that any development will be done, and obviously when the corruption and all these kinds of financial leakages comes into the picture. So they say that instead of giving this much amount in the Manrega scheme, the Manrega scheme should be revived to to do the capacity development by providing skills, reskilling and upskilling to the people so that they can get better productive jobs. So what do you think? Will it be a good idea?
See, according to me, firstly, अगर हम खाली एमजी स्कीम की यहाँ पे बात कर रहे हैं तो एमजी स्कीम इट ऑफर्स जॉब्स टू अनस्किल्ड लेबर. तो अनस्किल्ड लेबर में आपको अब जो फाइनेंसेस चाहिए टू फर्स्टली स्किल देम एंड देन वी आर आल्सो सीइंग जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज और जो स्किल्स में मिसमैच हो रहा है एक वो प्रॉब्लम भी है. एंड एट द सेम टाइम जब बोल रहे हो मतलब आपने जो आर्ग्यूमेंट अभी पुटअप करी है कि दिस एमजी स्कीम इट इज pulling back the development. So we can't say this क्योंकि firstly it is also providing we can say जो फाइनेंशियल इंडिपेंडेंस है वो प्रोवाइड हो रहा है तो उसकी वजह से जो कंजम्पशन डिमांड है वो कहीं ना कहीं इसकी वजह से इट इज एन इम्पोर्टेंट कंपोनेंट ऑफ दैट. सेकेंडली जो इवन कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन या जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चरल डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है इवन दैट कैन नॉट बी नेगेटेड. सो वी कांट से कि इसकी वजह से आवर डेवलपमेंट इज गेटिंग पुल्ड बैक. बट यस जो लूप होल्स जो चैलेंजेस आ रहे हैं इन टर्म्स ऑफ लीकेजेस ऑफ द फंड्स देयरइन वी आर ट्राइंग टू प्लग दैट एंड दैट्स हाउ वी आर मूविंग फॉरवर्ड.
एंड इसी के साथ साथ हमें दो चीजों पर पूरा फोकस रखना चाहिए. पहला ये कि टाइमली पेमेंट टू द बेनिफिशियरीज so that they do not run here and there, and number two, the implementation authorities and the execution authorities, the MPs and the DM level officers, they should try to have the proper data mechanisms so as to avoid the corruption and wrong beneficiaries taking the benefits from this scheme.
Yes. So global hunger index, although we have discussed this up, कि India basically does not accept जो भी outcomes है जो भी ranking रही है because we believe कि जो methodology use की गई है to frame this index that is flawed. Some company makes its own index and comes out with a list and we believe it. So it cannot happen and we are now analyzing whether these parameters they are applicable to Indian situation or not. अगर आफ्टर दिस बेसिकली जो भी आउटकम रहेगा ऑन दैट बेसिस वी कैन डिसाइड कि जो रैंकिंग है इंडिया को दी गई है वेदर दैट इज ट्रू, वेदर दैट इज सूटेबल, वेदर दैट इज इन कॉन्सोनेंस विद द करंट सिचुएशन इन इंडिया. सो जो मेथोडोलॉजी है उस पर हमें फोकस करना, उसको असेस एंड अंडरस्टैंड करना फर्स्टली इंपॉर्टेंट है. So note for rupees.
So Mansi, I would like to ask one thing. The PLI scheme, that obviously our electronic firms are getting benefited from the PLI scheme when we are doing the domestic manufacturing, and that is leading to a lot of export and increasing the balance of payment power of India. But in the same sector, I would like to ask that how the textile sector can be used in this. Obviously, the government has put the textile sector under the ambit of PLI. But when we see that there are international brands in the textile sector, for example, I will not take the name specifically, but there are brands whose whose productivity is somewhat not that good as if we compare to the traditional textile industries and even the modern textile industries of India. But still, if we compare them on the international revenue generation matters, so they they have a more appealing power, they have more brands fame, they have more revenue generation as compared to the Indian textile industry. So how we can raise the bar of our Indian textile industry so as to create a level playing field for that and ensure that the similar type of clothes for of both the foreign companies as well as of the Indian industries gets the deserving and gets the equal remuneration.
See, firstly, we are having schemes also when it comes to promoting the textile industry. Like we are coming up with the textile parks, the PM Mitra scheme that we have. So certain schemes हम आ रहे हैं, but जब आप बोल रहे हो कि we are more inclined towards buying from foreign brands, तो foreign brands में भी most of them are luxury brands, तो एक तो इसको हम इतना generalize नहीं कर सकते, and जो अपॉर्चुनिटी इंडिया के पास एग्जिस्ट करती है, वी कैन एक्ट एज अ होलसेल सप्लायर टू दीज ब्रांड्स. सो इस तरीके से जो हमारा डोमेस्टिक प्रोडक्शन है, एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज है, जो एक्सपेंशन है कैपेसिटी, और उसको हम एक्सपैंड कर सकते हैं if we are able to secure those as a wholesale supplier orders from these brands. Firstly, that can help us. And इसी तरीके से even when we talk about the competition from Bangladesh also in terms of textile, so availability of cheap labor definitely India में exist करता है. So basically चीजों को synergize करने की जरूरत है, and we are moving forward in that direction, and definitely हम कुछ lessons भी learn कर सकते हैं from the experience of Bangladesh also. So apart from
My
this,
point is this only, that how we can increase the luxuriness in Indian textile.
लग्जरीनेस को कैसे इंक्रीज कर सकते हो, उसमें बेसिकली आपको एक्सपर्ट्स चाहिए, बट जब आप ग्रोथ की एज अ बात करोगे पूरे टेक्सटाइल सेक्टर के लिए, तो कौन से एरियाज पे हम और फोकस कर सकते हैं इन ऑर्डर टू इंश्योर कि वो सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ रहे फॉर द टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री. वी कैन वर्क अपॉन द टेक्निकल टेक्सटाइल्स, वी कैन वर्क अपॉन creating second hand even clothing markets when you talk about upskilling, upcycling, and recycling industry. Secondly, or thirdly, we can also explore more when it comes to using the sustainable clothing industry. Sustainable in the sense how we can use the plastic waste in terms of manufacturing of textiles. So you kuch
So
areas
that is an example. Obviously, that will lead to a number of revenue generation as far as the textile is concerned. But as far as this is my personal opinion, that as far as the luxuriness is concerned, because if one jacket of a foreign brand is going off 80 lakh, and we are just reiterating khadi khadi khadi, so that should not be done. So
नहीं,
what we can
लेकिन
do is
आप
that
यहाँ पे लग्जरी ब्रांड्स के पर्सपेक्टिव से खाली नहीं सोच सकते ना. आम इंसान लग्जरी ब्रांड के ऊपर रिलाई नहीं कर सकता है, तो हमें फॉर मतलब ब्रॉडर लेवल पे सोचना चाहिए ना.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I
बट
agree with all
हम
the points which you
फोकस
are raising.
हम डायरेक्टली लग्जरी टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री को क्रिएट करने में या लग्जरी टेक्सटाइल ब्रांड्स क्रिएट करने में फोकस नहीं करना चाहिए. वी नीड टू इंश्योर कि जो आइटम्स है क्वालिटी अच्छी हो, बट एट द सेम टाइम दे आर अफोर्डेबल ऑल्सो.
Actually, these last 2 points which you are saying, that availability of the affordable clothes, actually India is able to do that because of various schemes which you just mentioned. But now what we should do is we should raise our bar and we should think above this, that we should go for the luxury. That is what my point was. And here the corporate sector, for an example, we have the Tata, which is coming in the textile sector and jumping over it, which has increased the luxuriness of the products. And for an example, we have one particular brand. I will not take the name. Online, that is a that is a step of Tata towards this in the textile sector to increase the luxuriness of the clothes, because our concern is not our concern cannot be specific to provide clothes. We are becoming developed country, so when we are talking about the developed countryness and the potential of this, so we should cannot neglect the luxuriness also. Obviously, on the priority level, we should provide the sustainable, affordable textile to everyone, and that is being done by various schemes, by various initiatives. But my concern is how to get that appeal of luxuriness so that the foreign people buy from India rather than Indians are buying from foreign.
तो आप ठीक है, खाली एक एस्पेक्ट की बात कर रहे हो कि लग्जरी ब्रांड्स भी क्रिएट किए जाने चाहिए, बट अफोर्डेबल और मतलब सस्टेनेबिलिटी की जब हम बात करते हैं, तो जैसे आई वाज मेंशनिंग कि वी आर फेसिंग कंपटीशन फ्रॉम बांग्लादेश. हम बांग्लादेश से इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं व्हेन वी आर बाइंग क्लोथ्स, तो उस पे लिखा होता है मेड इन बांग्लादेश या मेड इन वियतनाम. सो साउथ ईस्ट एशिया में वी आर सीइंग ज्यादा मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है, तो वी कैन से कि इंडिया में वी आर सक्सेसफुल व्हेन इट कम्स टू मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑफ affordable clothing. So we still need to work upon there. So impending energy crisis brings coal back into play. So हेरिन, जब हम बात करते हैं ग्रीन एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन एट द सेम टाइम एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी, तो ये दोनों एस्पेक्ट को हम कैसे साथ लेके चलेंगे, इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में मेजर चैलेंज हमारे सामने यही है कि रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी कैपेसिटी हम जनरेट करने की बात कर रहे हैं, बट दैट कैन नॉट बी डन इन अ शॉर्ट टाइम फ्रेम. तो अल्टीमेटली हमारे पास जो ऑप्शन बचता है दैट इज टू इंक्रीज द कैपेसिटी ऑफ इवन द थर्मल कोल प्लांट्स. सो फॉर दैट ऑल्सो वी आर कमिंग अप विद न्यू थर्मल कोल प्लांट्स इन इंडिया एज वेल. सो जो हमारा डोमेस्टिक कोल रिक्वायरमेंट है दैट इज, यू कैन से कि राइट नाउ as per the estimates it is going to be 866 by 2026-27, and by 2031 it will jump and it will cross 1000 million tons of mark. तो आने वाले टाइम में कोल की जो डिमांड है दैट इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज. सो दिस आर जस्ट अ नंबर फोरकास्ट है, बट इसको इट इज नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट कि दिस वुड बी अगेन, it would be a reality if we are able to successfully meet जो हमारे renewable energy targets हैं. So we have different targets. India is targeting 50% जो हमारी energy that should come from the non-fossil fuels, and that may not happen so soon. So basically जो हमारे पास time availability है, that is a challenge. So renewable energy pays much below the target level, and private investments through the public-private partnerships, they are very crucial when it comes to meeting all these renewable energy targets. So how we can again focus upon creating renewable energy as a sustainable alternative to the power that is generated through coal power plants. So then we can ensure कि जो हमारी dependence होगी on the coal plants वो reduce होना start हो जाएगी. So how basically artificial intelligence can help in enhancing the logistics sector safety also and efficiency also. So herein we having this one case study. So we can basically just include this particular aspect even when we talk about the PM Gati Shakti program, that it can help in bringing down the logistics cost, which is relatively high in India when we compare it to the advanced countries. So this can be one smaller component as a part of solution, that this needs to be part of our logistics sector as well. So let's move on to Indian Express newspaper now.
So, citing deep fakes, government looks at IT rules to make WhatsApp disclose source ID. So, this is a step to take control and have checks and balance of the over the social media, especially the WhatsApp, that is a messaging app. And because of the deep fakes incidents which have been cited by the regulatory authorities. So, under the IT rules 2021, the authorities are competent enough to seek the identity of the people who first shared the videos on the platform and take the further investigation in the matters of grave concerns. So WhatsApp has called it a threat to its end-to-end encryption system, which keeps communication private from even the company. Enforcement of such a measure will lead to mass surveillance. So the midway approach can be that both the company stakeholders as well as the government should sit on a common platform so as to include the demands of the WhatsApp also, and to take into confidence the WhatsApp agencies about the security concerns of the India's security apparatus. So that would be a midway approach in this regard.
So basically, what do you think if we go ahead with the implementation of this rule, will it lead to mass surveillance or not?
Well, that depends again on the will and the intention of the executive government, because by sitting outside of the system, we cannot actually say that government is bad or government is right. So that depends on the government's intention, and especially as far as the India is concerned. So we have a very democratic character where the institutions are respected for their expertise, for their integrity, and for their um, internal functioning. So I think that if the government has come to prevent the deepfake like problems on the WhatsApp, so the WhatsApp should also try to incorporate these demands into their communication messaging system, because that is a matter of security as far as India is concerned. So color coded maps, a detailed plan shows Hamas news, Israel's uh, a little above. Yeah, Hamas news, Israel secrets and weakness. So we will not talk a lot about this topic because we are talking. Only one thing I want to say is that why this is so, that being a very secure country, Israel faced this wrath by Hamas is only because what we are focusing today is more on non-conventional threats, but Hamas tried the strategy of conventional threats. They spread out across Israel and they surveillance the whole institution, the security apparatus, and made a conventional strike over the Israel, which Israel has um, very, badly suffering from. So new shelters, special fuel batteries, Indian armor gets ready for winter in Ladakh. So these are, I think, we are going for the um, mock drills in this region, where we have deployed the Russian origin T-72, T-90 tanks in the eastern Ladakh as a as to showcase a deterrence in the bilateral relations between India and China. As far as our defense forces are concerned, especially on this matter, so frequently we are seeing that via diplomatic channels and via military channels, the talks are going on between these two countries to solve the international border disputes and to remain peaceful as far as the areas are concerned, which are the hot concerns as far as the LAC is concerned. So we can move now. This is not that important. Five of Noida school book, a little above. Yeah. Five of Noida school booked for harassing minor girls. So this is, as far as the exam is concerned, not that informatory, but yes, um, the school authorities should have some provisions like we have in the corporate sectors and the public sector services sector, the Sexual Harassment and Workplace Prevention Act. So we should also utilize the um, child protection and especially the Girls Protection Act in the schools, and there should be proper uh, institutional mechanisms within the premises of the schools so as to take the surveillance and precautions on the earlier steps, where we can use the CCTV and investigation, do the investigation. So before police do the policing, the school authorities do the policing, and that will lead to limit and minimization of these kinds of problems which are happening. So Hinduism is not a way of worship, but a dharma. This is a statement by Mohan Bhagwata in Jammu and Kashmir when he has visited the uh, Mata's shrine. So what we can learn is that how the Hinduism is being debated by one section who says that it is a kind of orthodoxy of the majoritarianism over the minorities and the vulnerables, and that leads to various communal coloring in the name of caste, traditions, rituals. On the other side, we have the rightist section who proclaims Hinduism is not a kind of worship. Hinduism is basically the philosophy of India, the philosophy of Bharat that actually prescribes the way for collectiveness, togetherness, unity, compassion, tolerance, and obviously adaptability, which has led the country to not proclaim the country as Hindu but still all the different sections and factions of the society, even the outside peoples also who have settled in the earlier historical ages. So former poll panel chief MS Gill dies at 87. A distinguished figure in bureaucracy and the politics, he retired as chief election commissioner. He held this position from 1996 to 2011, and at that time we were not even born. So it was during his tenure that the election commission introduced the EVM. So this person is well known for his achievements in this technological advancements as far as the election machinery is concerned. He was known for his sharp intellect and plain-speaking profile writer. He was an advocate of consensus-based resolution to river water disputes. And obviously, in the Satluj Jamuna link canal, because he hails from the state of Punjab, which has this interstate river water boundary problem which is going on the Chandigarh issue also, because Chandigarh is the UT today, which is proclaimed by the state of Punjab and Haryana to provide more representation in these. But in this matter also, Mr. Gill was having very pragmatic views. His views were against capital punishment, which were well known, and he openly defied the Congress while opposing death penalty awarded to Balwant Singh Rajawala, and he was awarded Padma Vibhushan. So obviously, he's a very diligent and astounding personality as far as the election commission and our Indian civil society is concerned. So what the teacher is more important than what he teaches. There's a quote by Karl Magniger. It's simply saying that everyone who is providing you something informatory that cannot be considered a teacher, as we used to have this belief. A real teacher, a teacher is a basically title which should be awarded to those person who really helps us in our personality, cognitive, physical, emotional, spiritual development, and that obviously comes with his righteousness in his teachings. India deserves better liberalism that doesn't rebuke
in terms of how we can, interpret this quotation is that what the teacher is and is more important than what he teaches. So what he teaches is not so important. How he is teaching, that becomes more important. And that's how basically when we talk about even improving the quality of teachers, so that is an important aspect of it.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, but this is a quote of Karl Magniger, but this is quote of me when I'm saying that. So obviously, quote can be given by everyone. But yes, you are right in explaining this quote. But according to me, the teacher is not as important as his teachings, according to me, because what he teaches, that actually matters more.
So you're basically countering this quotation. You feel that
yes, exactly.
what is much more important. Okay.
So on Middle East, Delhi must stay with the abiding principles, remain clear eye on interest, find points of convergence. So जैसा कि हम देख रहे हैं कि the country is heading towards the economic prosperity, and there are issues like Muslim vote bank appeal, polarization of the votes, and recently this Israel and Palestinian issue has been come into the picture. So the important stance which the government as well as the Minister of External Affairs should take, that should be very much balanced and both sided to abide the principles and clear-eyed interest. Because why this issue has come into the picture is because Indian society is plural, diverse, where the Muslims section also have a very say on this war which is going on, because this is not a war between these two countries. This is a war which is going on between two rival religions, that is the Judaism and the Mohammedanism. So that is definitely going to affect the domestic interest of India when the elections, we are heading towards the general elections next year. So any statement given by the government that can lead to the tits and drums in the election results. So that should be taken into very much consideration. And Delhi's challenge will become sharper as the crisis escalates and humanitarian laws of war abide by the principle of proportionality in dealing with the Hamas. So obviously we are having a very pragmatic stance when we are saying that Palestinian rights should be revived and should be restored to them. So we can say that these kind of things are already going on. So we can take a little from the first editorial. I think you need to scroll a lot. Yeah. So India deserves a better liberalism, but that doesn't rebuke the politics of social justice. So the efficacy and desirability of reservation can be debated, obviously because of the problems with the implementation process, duplication of efforts, corruption, and biasness. But this move so typical of the politics of social justice, of reducing it to merely a demand for reservation, is disingenuous. Surely reservation is only one instrument wielded by the politics of social justice, which in fact animated by a mere general statement, desire for greater equality in social conditions than currently exist. But according to me, the reservation is a affirmative action, is a positive discrimination to provide the social justice level playing field to bring the vulnerables into the mainstream section of society. But the irony is that number one, we have the problems in the implementation process, and those problems are not highlighted. And even though they are highlighted, no any effective action actually takes place because of the polarization of the caste vote based bank politics, which runs in the country. Second number is, according to a political scholar, if the majoritarian section, for an example, if the upper caste section will criticize reservation and they will say that this is a kind of discrimination with us, never ever the reservation is going to provide any sort of social social development in the form of social development, in the form of that the intercaste joining, intercaste marriages takes place smoothly. That will not happen. So what he suggested is that let the beneficiaries of the reservations raised these issues rather than the upper caste are raising these issues in the implementation problems, bottlenecks in the implementation. And once the uh, people who deserves reservation under these categories will question the reservation, and why they will question, because they are the real beneficiaries. In their name someone is other taking the benefit. When they will raise this question, so definitely the government will take these demands into incorporation and will bring reforms as far as the reservation implementation is concerned.
So, do you think, Pravesh, that uh, should we remove reservation from India, like we don't require it, or as you were highlighting the challenges and the problems? So, do you feel that we need to remove reservation and come up with some other ideas?
See, saying that reservation should be removed, so yeah, so reservation, I will not say that because you have asked my personal opinion, so I will not say that reservation should be completely removed. Mansi, wait a minute.
Okay.
Yes, Mansi, we can continue. So as far as the reservation is concerned, um, I will use my functional specialization of my political science, that there is a there is a TINA factor which is involved here. What is a TINA factor? TINA factor says that the problem is you have only one thing to do. You do not have any alternative. So in the reservation, if we want to, if we know that reservation which is being given in India, that is not happening smoothly, that because of implementation problems, because of various reasons. But we do not have any robust alternative so as to bring those vulnerable sections into the mainstream section of society. If we have, so we should try to use that. But again, we cannot just simply say that reservation philosophy is bad, because the aim of reservation is not a permanent help in the name of positive discrimination. the basic objective of reservation is to create a level playing field in the minimum time, so that the whole society comes on a common platform and live their life happily, socially, economically, and politically. But since the 70 years of the independence, nothing has happened as such. Obviously, because of the reservation, the behavioral revolution has taken place, not to large extent, but to a good extent. And on the premises of that, I can say that reservation should not be completely disbanded. Rather than, we should try to bring multiple reforms in the reservation policy. And once these reforms are done, I think within 10 years of the reservation, we will be able to create such a scenario where we will not be having reservation need for the next years. So I think more important is the reforms, and the political will should be there to actually look at these issues. So that will be my opinion.
So what reforms will you suggest in reservation then?
Okay, so number one, प्रॉपर आइडेंटिफिकेशन होना चाहिए, जो बेनिफिशियरीज रियल में है उनको ढूंढा जाए और उनको प्रोवाइड की जाए, डुप्लीकेशन ऑफ एफर्ट्स ना हो, और इसके बाद जो फ्रॉड होते हैं डॉक्यूमेंट्स के अंदर, वो हमारी जो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एजेंसीज हैं वो एक प्रॉपर सोशल ऑडिट के तहत इस काम को करें। इसमें आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस और टेक्नोलॉजी की हेल्प ली जा सकती है। जितना भी हमारा डाटा है, हम हेल्थ एजेंसी से, हम राशन एजेंसी से, हम फाइनेंशियल बैंकिंग एजेंसी से, इन सारे डाटा को क्लब करके हम एक ऐसा डाटा बना सकते हैं जिससे हमें ये पता लग जाएगा, जैसे कि कास्ट सेंसस, कास्ट सर्वे बिहार में चल रहा है, हमारे पास कास्ट सेंसस भी है, तो हमारे पास डाटा है, बट दिक्कत ये है कि हमें उनको सिंक्रोनाइज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। अगर हम उनको सिंक्रोनाइज कर लेते हैं तो हमारे को ये पता लग जाएगा कि कौन रियल बेनिफिशियरीज हैं। हमारे यहाँ मनरेगा भी दी जाती है, लेकिन उसके अंदर भी यही दिक्कत है। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि सबसे पहले डाटा होना चाहिए, और इसमें कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर की हेल्प ली जा सकती है जब आज के टाइम पर हम डाटा एनालिटिक्स की बात कर रहे हैं, नंबर वन। दूसरा, जो रिजर्वेशन की फिलॉसफी है उसको कहीं ना कहीं एक मास सोसाइटी में समझाने की जरूरत है कि रिजर्वेशन खाली इकोनॉमिक और एजुकेशनल नहीं है, रिजर्वेशन सोशल है। आपको गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में, कॉलेजेस में, एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज में रिजर्वेशन के बिहाफ पे अगर सीट मिल रही है, वो उसका मतलब सिर्फ ये नहीं है कि आपको इन दो चीजों के लिए रिजर्वेशन दी जा रही है। रिजर्वेशन आपको दी जा रही है सोसाइटी के अंदर जो इम्पैक्ट लाने हैं, वो इन दो चीजों से तो आएंगे, लेकिन इन दो चीजों की जब इम्प्लीकेशन आएंगे उससे सोसाइटी के अंदर इम्पैक्ट आएंगे। आई वुड लाइक टू गिव वन मोर एग्जांपल दैट if there are two person, one belongs to Brahmin caste and one belong and the girl belongs to, and the boy belongs to a Dalit caste, sorry, the girl belongs to a, and vice versa. If there are two person who loves with each other and both belongs to different caste, in Indian society it is very challenging task to task to actually combine them and to combine their families also, because marriage is not between two person in India, marriage is between the whole family system in India. तो आई थिंक कि इस सोसाइटी में बिहेवियरल डिवोल्यूशन के लिए रिजर्वेशन लाई जा रही है, और जब तक इसका महत्व नहीं समझा जाएगा, हम रिजर्वेशन को क्रिटिसाइज सिर्फ दो चीजों के नाम पे करेंगे कि एक कि नौकरियों में कोटा मिलता है और दूसरा एजुकेशन में कोटा मिलता है। बट इस कोटे से ऊपर उठ के अगर कोई देखे, एंड ऑब्वियसली इस बिहेवियरल डिवोल्यूशन में सबसे ज्यादा जो इंपॉर्टेंस और जो पहल कर सकते हैं वो हमारे सैनिटेशन वर्कर कर सकते हैं। अगर जो अपर कास्ट जो रिजर्वेशन को सिर्फ इस बेसिस पे क्रिटिसाइज करते हैं कि खास लोगों को दी जा रही है, तो उनसे ये पूछा जाए कि इफ यू विल अलाउ टू वर्क इन दी सैनिटेशन सेक्टर्स, अगर आपको मैन होल्स में जाना पसंद है तो हम आपको भी रिजर्वेशन देने के लिए तैयार हैं, क्या आप जाएंगे? तो such kind of rational debates and a political culture should be created where the vote bank politics should not be done। तीसरा मेरा ये स्टेप है कि कास्ट बेस्ड मोबिलाइजेशन ऑफ वोट्स ना हो, और जो रिजर्वेशन है उसको पॉलिटिकल टूल ना बनाया जाए बाय द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एंड बाय द पॉलिटिकल अथॉरिटीज। तो इसी के साथ साथ चौथा स्टेप मैं ये कहूंगा कि जो रिजर्वेशन के रियल बेनिफिशियरीज हैं उनकी हमें कैपेसिटी डेवलपमेंट करनी चाहिए बाय एनजीओज, बाय पंचायती राज, बाय म्यूनिसिपैलिटीज, की जो असली के हकदार हैं उनको हम सपोर्ट दें कि वो जाकर एक इस तरीके का एक कॉमन एजेंडा क्रिएट करे कि यार हमें मिल नहीं रही है, हम असली में हकदार हैं। ट्राइबल्स के लिए इस तरीके से ट्राइबल्स जो हमारे एडवाइजरी काउंसिल्स हैं वो ये काम कर सकती हैं। तो काम करने की जरूरत है, रादर कि हम इस चीज को पूरा निगलेक्ट करके इसको बोल दें कि ये पूरा इसकी फिलॉसफी गलत है। तो ये कुछ स्टेप्स हैं जो मेरे
और
हिसाब से होने चाहिए।
ईडब्ल्यूएस रिजर्वेशन की इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में जैसे एक पॉइंट हाईलाइट करूंगी कि जब अगेन बात करते हैं हम आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ द बेनिफिशियरीज, सो गेटिंग टू नो या assessing the income of a person, so therein also the linkage of Aadhaar card with the PAN card, even that can help us, as you were also talking about data analytics. So linkage of data and then interpretation of that data is important.
Yes, and obviously in the economy angle, we have the income certificate. So that certificate is very good as far as its efficacy is concerned. But the problem lies in the implementation. So that implementation process should be very much digitalized so that RTI mechanism, social audit mechanism should have a checks and balance on that so that the corruption do not take place in the making of that certificate.
Okay.
So we need more doctors and we need more policemen also because I remember one data that over 700 people in India we have one constable, and similarly on I think 500 um, patients we have one doctor. So we need to increase the scale up level in both the areas, in the policing also, in the doctors also. और इसके लिए हमें आपको कैपेसिटी डेवलपमेंट पे काम करना पड़ेगा, नए नए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएट करनी पड़ेगी, क्वालिटी एजुकेशन देना पड़ेगा, एंड वी नीड टू क्रिएट आई थिंक मोर हॉस्पिटल्स लाइक फैसिलिटीज। इसी के साथ साथ हमें जो प्राइवेट हमारे प्रैक्टिशनर्स हैं उनको भी कहीं ना कहीं अलाउ करना चाहिए ताकि वो एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएट कर पाए और जो हमारे डॉक्टर्स हैं उनकी एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज कहीं ना कहीं क्रिएट हो। और इंडिया के अंदर जो ये रेशो है डॉक्टर पेशेंट का, नर्स पेशेंट का, पुलिस और आम आदमी का, वो कहीं ना कहीं एक रैशनल लेवल पर आए और वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज की तर्ज पर ये हो ताकि हम भी इन चीजों में काम कर सकें।
एंड डेफिनेटली यहाँ पे इम्पोर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट आ जाता है कि व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट गोइंग विद द एजुकेशन, मेडिकल एजुकेशन, तो वी सी स्टूडेंट्स, पीपल प्रेफरिंग moving out to other countries, so even that also needs to be stopped. तो तभी stop होगा when we are having again quality education. And even when we talk about the national education policy, so we are seeing that the first foreign university that is going to set up their campus in India, that is from Australia. So if foreign universities, they are opening up their campuses in India, so that can be again helpful in preventing the movement of these students out of India for their higher education.
But we cannot completely deny this that हमारे अगर बच्चे वहां जाके डॉक्टरी पढ़ के आ रहे तो वो बुरा है। उसका रीजन ये क्वालिटी एजुकेशन नहीं है। अकॉर्डिंग टू ग्लोबल ट्रीटमेंट इज ऑन वेरी हाई लेवल। ऐसा नहीं है कि हमारे यहाँ अच्छी नहीं देते इस वजह से बाहर जा रहे हैं, हमारे यहाँ एडमिशन नहीं होता इस वजह से बाहर जाते हैं। दिस इज द मेन प्रॉब्लम। एंड हमारे यहाँ सस्ते में पढ़ाई हो जाती है, इतनी क्वालिटी मेडिकल एजुकेशन, लेकिन बाहर के देशों में 20 लाख रुपए मिनिमम आपको लगते हैं और एम्स जैसे हॉस्पिटल में पूरी ही एमबीबीएस की फीस आपकी 6,000 रुपए है पर एनम। तो आई थिंक द प्रॉब्लम इज नॉट इन क्वालिटी एंड इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, द प्रॉब्लम इज इन द एडमिसिबिलिटी। तो उस एडमिसिबिलिटी को बढ़ाने के लिए वी शुड क्रिएट मोर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर। और जैसा कि आपने ये पॉइंट अच्छा बताया कि जो फॉरेन कंट्रीज हैं वो यहाँ पर आके अपने जो हॉस्पिटल्स हैं वो क्रिएट करें, सो व्हाई दे विल कम इन इंडिया एंड दे विल सेटल देयर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं हमें डॉक्टर्स की जो एक्सपर्टीज है उसको यूज करने के लिए और मतलब अपने डॉक्टर्स का जो पोटेंशियल है उसको यूज करने के लिए अपना ही इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्रिएशन है, फाइनेंशियल है, डायरेक्ट इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेस है, उनकी जो हम कलेक्शन है वो ज्यादा कर सकते हैं। और सिविल कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर्स को हम साथ में ले सकते हैं, जैसे कि हमारे यहाँ बहुत बड़े बड़े हॉस्पिटल्स हैं, एज इन गुरुग्राम भी है, एज इन मुंबई भी है। तो इतनी सारी चीजों के साथ अगर हम स्टेप्स लेते हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं हमारे डॉक्टर जो है वो इंडिया में ही पढ़ेंगे और इंडिया के ही लोगों का कल्याण करेंगे।
ठीक है, okay, so now we can continue in part 3 of this video since we have less time.
ओके।